Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inquiries here. Just thought I would do a quick video on some towing basics for some people. I know that's kind of maybe mind-boggling as people get into, they want to start doing some camping or want to tow some jet skis or a motorcycle or a trailer or whatnot. So I'm just going to go over some real quick basics for everybody, and hopefully that gives everybody an idea of what you need and what you need to look out for when you're planning on doing this stuff. All right. We're going to bring in here Mozilla and we'll talk about stuff. So the other day I was talking with a driver that I work with, and they were talking about bumper pulls, what he exactly said, and that terminology is used today in towing, because back in the old days people actually did bumper pull, which means they had cutouts on these bumpers, and these bumpers were heavy duty steel, really big contraptions, and this was really pre-receiver hitch. So you would either gooseneck pull something, or fifth wheel pull something, or you bumper pulled, and those bumper pulls had a ball here, and that's where you would hook your trailer to. That is no longer really something that anybody does, because these bumpers are just pretty much for looks. There's a steel beam underneath here that holds this faux piece. This is actually not even a solid bumper. This is a piece here, that's a piece over there, and then this is a plastic shroud. So there's really not usually a whole bumper here. So when people now talk about bumper pull, they just kind of synonymize that at RV America and everything, like, well, you're gonna be towing from the bumper. No, that's not true. You're gonna be receiver towing, and most smaller hitches are gonna be just like a class 2, maybe a class 3 on like SUVs and stuff. Then you'll step up to class 4 and class 5s depending on the size of truck you have. But a 2-inch receiver is the kind of hitch that you're going to have on there. And just because you have the hitch doesn't mean you have wiring. So when you come into here and you're like, okay, well, my car SUV doesn't have any of that, we're going to need to get that added on. My suggestion to you is go to a specialty store, go back to the manufacturer, and just have it done right. Or go to like these places like Autoplex and stuff. They do hitches, Lampert hitches here in Colorado. All those people know what you need, and they'll get you set up. But you're going to need probably what's called a camper plug, or 7-pin. That's pretty much the standard thing. Some of the smaller trailers are going to have a 4-pin, which is just a little bit more limiting. Usually those 4-pin type trailers don't require trailer brakes, so you're not really going to have that. But the 7-pins are going to have trailer brakes, which means your camper, whatever you're towing, is heavy enough that it has its own braking system. And by having that connected to the vehicle, you can put in a brake controller. See how it gets complicated real quick? So at the end of the day, there are basically just a handful of types. You're going to have conventional towing, which is from a receiver hitch. Okay, you're going to have inside the back of here what's called fifth wheel hitch. All right, let me show you what that looks like here in just a second. And then you're going to have sometimes a gooseneck hitch, which you'll have a ball like this, basically in the center of your bed up there. That application is going to come in a lot when you're talking about like stock trailers, horse trailers, stuff like that. The actual, you need to save that payload because the trailer itself is heavy enough. So they're going to have a gooseneck type connection in there. So that's going to be a really kind of a working man's type hitch. Although people that are hauling fifth wheels now are converting those pin boxes to an actual gooseneck. I'm neither here nor there on that. But on this truck, I have a contraption called a puck system, which I'll kind of show you. But those balls, or turnover balls, are going to be synonymous with the gooseneck. And then the fifth wheel hitch, let's go take a look at that. All right, so for most people that are just getting into it, this type of hitch, fifth wheel and gooseneck, that is nothing that you're going to be troubling yourselves with. Because I would never recommend that if you're coming from never towing anything to jump right into something like this. Because this, the reason why we have gooseneck and fifth wheel hitches is because the size of the unit you're towing is substantially larger than what you would be towing conventionally. Not that those don't get very big at some times. They're pretty long, but those have their limits. These type of trailers, they have lots more weight, and so I would hope that you start doing conventional towing some small, hone your skills, work your way up to it. Here we have what's called a fifth wheel hitch, and the name of it actually came because the hitch part of itself is round like a fifth wheel, if you will. It usually have some type of locking clause in there, which is going to grab the kingpin that's on the trailer. Now a lot of people say, well, I have a kingpin hitch in the back of my truck. No, you don't. You have a fifth wheel hitch, and the kingpin is actually the hitch that's welded to the trailer. But a lot of people synonymize those, and that's okay. You don't have to know all the jargon and stuff like that. But when you go into these places and they're selling you a trailer, you want to know kind of what you're talking about, because if they're like, oh, you have a hitch, and you're like, oh, I do have a hitch. Well, you might have bought a truck that has one of these in it, but that's not what you're intending on really wanting to buy. So this, again, is going to be your fifth wheel hitch, and it's going to hook up very similar to a semi. And this hitch, again, just like a gooseneck, allows you to have a lot more weight inside the bed and not so much on the bumper pull. So now let's go back and talk about what the oh, see, I used it almost synonymous, bumper pull. Let's go back and talk about the conventional towing. All right, so now that we're back at our conventional towing setup, a lot of times you can come to the back of the hitch here and you can see that the hitch itself can traditionally handle 18,200 pounds. Weight carrying is 18,200 pounds. Now your max tongue weight is 1,800, meaning with this hitch in here, hypothetically, this hitch can handle 1,820 pounds on the tongue weight. So the tongue is basically, imagine this sticking out kind of like a tongue. That's what it's going to be. Now that doesn't mean that's what your vehicle's set up to do necessarily, because just because the hitch is over, qualified, doesn't mean your vehicle is. So this is where you're going to have to really go back and check, your door strike plate and everything, and make sure that, when we come in here, that this truck on its own doesn't say. So if we look right here, the combined weight of the occupants and or cargo should not exceed 3,100 pounds. Now that's what's in the truck, so more like your pin weight and everything. But from here, you can always go down here and find your gross vehicle weight rating and everything like that, and really find out what it is. Because again, you can put a class 3 hitch on an old Honda Pilot. That does not mean it's able to handle that. So make sure you find out what you want to tow. And again, if you're really trying to get set up, buy the horse, then the carriage. If you have the idea you want to tow a huge fifth wheel and you buy the horse that you bought is too small, then you're just going to be in there trading it really quick. In addition to that, once you find out your tongue weight and everything, you really need to go in, because they sell these bad boys at Walmart. I don't do a lot of conventional towing anymore at all, and so I just have a bunch of these around to hold bike racks and stuff like that. But way down here, let's get it to focus, it talks about on these labels how much weight this now can handle. So it says max trailer tow 6,000 pounds, max tongue weight is 600. Well, wait a minute, I just said I could put 1,800 on the tongue weight. Again, everything has to go together, everything has to work. Now if you're a tent trailer or your small trailer, it will have a strike plate on it too saying what the tongue weight is. Now that doesn't mean you can't put more crap on the tongue making it over that, and that would be a bad thing. But this little hitch right here only pulls 6,000 pounds. Well, I've seen people having these little dinky things on here and trying to tow big old travel trailers with them. Come on now, got to be careful and be smart about it. And then once you go from here, make sure this is adequate. Then you got to make sure you go to the ball itself and make sure that the ball itself is the correct diameter. So you have hitches out there that range from 1.25 to 2 inch to 2 5/16, so on and so forth. The bigger the ball, usually the bigger the trailer. But you can see in there that ball is also rated at 6,000 pounds. Now, legality-wise, again, if you were to, heaven forbid, get in an accident towing something, and they wanted to go back and sue you, they can come back and they'll check everything. The hitch, did you set your stuff adequate? This is all civil liability you're taking upon yourself by getting into it. But if you just go to the pros, or you ask the right questions, if you don't know, there's nothing wrong with that. Just ask the right questions. They'll get you through that, and and you'll be completely legal in that realm of towing. So just definitely do that. So make sure you have the proper setups and stuff like that. Make sure you have the proper angle. You want the trailer to always be level. So you have some that come straight out, some that dip far, some that dip way far down. Then you have other conventional towing hitches that actually you can drop, bring up and down to level it, because you don't want to have your trailer sitting too high in the front or too low in the back, vice versa. So you want to check those clearances. The fifth wheel hitch I got out there that I just showed you, that thing's rated at 16,000 pounds, and as you just saw on my door strike plate, I can put 3,100 pounds of pin weight in the bed of the truck. hypothetically, right? But that's just all your cargo, all your stuff like that. Most pin boxes on those trailers are, you know, 12 to 15, 1,600 pounds max. And then you tack in your 4 or 5 passengers, just figure them a couple 100 pounds a piece. And you can see how that quickly adds up, especially if you're going to put like generators and stuff in the back. But you know, one thing's for sure is just wanted to make sure that we could just do a quick video on some one-on-one towing. Again, I'm going to put in the puck system from Ford, which is right here. This is going to go in the frame for my fifth wheel. This will allow me to put in my fifth wheel hitch in the bed and take it in and out. And then right here is the gooseneck turnover ball type setup. If I'm going to use it, I'll cut that in and put that in also. And then last but not least on the towing thing, guys, is check and see, one, what your laws are requiring your vehicle you're towing or your camper or your trailer, and see if the weight that's going to have on it plus the trailer is required to have trailer brakes. If you're buying a trailer from someplace, it's probably going to already have the trailer brakes on it. If it has trailer brakes on it, then you're going to need to come into your vehicle and you're going to need to make sure that you either have a factory set up trailer brake controller, so you can do that, or they have aftermarket ones that mount on the dash and stuff from like Takancha and whatnot. And definitely get those installed so you can use those brakes. If you're using a super small utility trailer or something like that from Harbor Freight, doesn't require you to have brakes, you're not really going to use that type of feature. But most campers, even larger tent campers, are going to have that. So I do hope that this does a little bit of beginner knowledge for that. You can reach out to me and ask me that, because again, a lot of these salespeople, they don't even know really what they're selling. They're supposed to, and they're trying their best, but there's a lot of nuances to that. And you know, you'll overwork your car, you'll damage your trailer, you'll put yourself in a civil liability issue where you could really get in trouble. So I would just say, just be, you know, real careful and tow safe out there. Please subscribe. If you don't like my content, you don't have to get notifications, but please do subscribe. I want to thank all my viewers out there. We did hit 1,000 this week. And I keep putting out more content, and hopefully eventually I can do this full time. So thanks a lot, guys.